Alright, listen, people. In this podcast, I'll be talking about Roman colonies, or as they call it in Latin, Colonia Romana. Now, I often talk about history, about antiquity, and then especially about the Greco-Roman world. Why? The Roman Empire was the peak of antiquity. And all paganism comes from antiquity. And what's happening now in the world is that the world is trying to get rid of the impact of Christianity and to return back to antiquity. They want to return back to Roman paganism. Islam is a great example of this. But first, let me go back to history now. You had the Greek Empire that later turned into the Roman Empire. Now, the Greek rulers, because remember, the Greek Empire fell apart and it became a mess, right? So, the city of Rome was also a Greek city. They spoke Greek. Latin was only a code language that was only used in ceremonies. So, just picture this, okay? You have this city with around 300,000 people living in it. You also have city walls, so you cannot just enter into the city. To enter the city, you have to go to the gate, and you had a guard over there, and the guard is basically the border patrol. He would ask you who you are, what you're coming to do, and you can either be denied access or you will be allowed to the city. Rome was a community of farmers around the Tiber River, and they founded a city, and a city grew. The city of Rome gained political influence upon the whole area of what we today call Italy. So Rome was basically the capital of the kingdom Italy. Only the Romans, the city of Rome, didn't want to use the title king. However, that's what it was. Okay? Now, listen to this. You had Italy. Okay? In the north, you have the Po River. During that time, we call it the Padus River. And above the Padus River, you had lowland followed by the Alps. Then you go down. You have other mountains. Then followed by Rome in the middle of Italy. Then going to the south. Then you have the islands of Sicily, Sardinia, and Corsica. Okay. If you wanted to go from Rome to Aquileia, that was a city near the present-day Slovenia, in the northern of Italy. Then you had to take a chariot with horses, and you had to travel by chariot. And from the middle of Italy, from Rome to the north of Italy would take at least 7 days or 8 days. And if you want to go to the south, it would take equal 7 days. If you need to take the ship, it would take about 2 or 3 days to go to Sardinia, Corsica, or to Sicily if you're already in the south. So within a reach of 2 weeks, the city of Rome had a management upon Italy. So it worked. However, once you leave Italy, it becomes more difficult. So what did the Greek rulers in Rome did? They decided to establish colonies. Now, the whole idea is this. The Romans, now let me say the Greeks, because the Romans were Greek people, in northern Africa, you had this kingdom called Numidia. Okay? Numidia is what today we call it Tunisia. In Numidia, you had large fields of land, large fields of soil that was uninhabited. You had animals roaming over there, but you had no human habitation because most people lived in cities already in that time. And even the farming communities were located near the coast. More land inwards, you had empty land. Not empty that there was nothing, there was vegetation, and there were some animals, but there was no human habitation. So what the Romans did was, they stationed soldiers and over there, they've built military camps, not because there was something to defend, militarily speaking, but those soldiers were also farmers, and you were also slaves that helped them. And they grew grain over there, especially grain, for bread. Or let me say wheat. And the wheat was growing over there, and every year around spring, there was a big harvest. You see? And to travel from Tripoli, because Tripoli was the capital of Numidia, to travel from Tripoli to Rome, you had to go through Sicily to do that. It would take about 15 days, or 10 till 15 days it would take. And so every year around spring, they would ship tons of wheat to Rome. And the people that were living in Rome had free grain. So they didn't have to find a job to earn money or to pay for bread. They had free grain, so the bread was free. The only thing the citizens in Rome had to do was they had to conform to the Roman ideals. They had to join the army. They had to worship the shrine of Augustus, of Caesar, and they had to worship the pagan gods. That's the only thing they had to do, and every year they would have free grain. Of course, the Romans stored the grain also in Rome, so that there was enough for the whole year. But this system, it lasted for about 2 decades, and the population of the city of Rome grew to 1 million. You see? And the Romans began to apply this system to to the whole Mediterranean area. So what the Romans did, for example, they went to Spain. To go to Spain would take up around 2 weeks by ship, and they built they found certain establishments over there, and they invited the rural people, the farmers and their families, to come live within the city walls. Because there would be free grain, there would be also wine, there would be theaters, there would be aqueducts, so they wouldn't have to go walk miles to get some water out of a river. So that's how Rome built colonies, and people began to join the Roman Empire basically by joining those colonies. Many historians are aware of this, you see, because many people who are ignorant of history, they think the Roman Empire expanded himself by their military strength. That's not true. Because, military speaking, they did not have the capacity to maintain such a large area, going from Ireland all the way to present-day Iraq. The Roman Empire was successful by providing, or at least claiming to be able to provide the basic necessities of human life. You see, if you, let's say you are living in Ireland, for example. Yes, you live in Ireland, and this year there was bad weather and you have no harvest. So now you either have to hunt on animals, and that's quite dangerous because if you're not a skilled hunter, you probably will die. Or you need to go to other areas of Ireland to see if people are willing to receive you, or you need to steal harvest from others, okay? Let's say you're a farmer and you and your village, there's no harvest now. Or what also happened during that time, you had robbers on horses that came around and stole harvests of people. That also happened. So, as a farmer, as a farming community, you had no security that this year there will be enough food for everyone. And now there is this guy across the sea in Britain that calls himself the King of Britannia. Or well, he is a king and he is established by Rome. You don't care at all about Rome or the vision of Rome if you're the one that, how do I say it, if you're the one that's hungry and unable to provide for yourself. But let's say that Rome now, let's say the Greeks in Britain, they come over to Iberia, that's the name of ancient Ireland. They come to Ireland and they found a few fortresses. They built a few city walls, but they built some apartments, some theaters. They build those cities, and now they invite you to come live in those cities, and you will get Roman citizenship. You will get protection. You see, and you have certainty that you can also farm better over there because there's a certainty of water. So, if that would happen, then you will think, hold on a minute. That Roman Empire is good for something, so let's join. And that's how the Roman Empire expanded itself. It was not through military strength. Yes, there was military power, but it was not because of military power that the Roman Empire grew. You see, the Romans were quite smart. If they would threaten people to comply with Rome, and yes, they did that, with crucifixions and other forms of torture. So don't get me wrong, Rome was a violent system, a very cruel system also, but Rome understood that you can only use scare tactics in Italy effectively. Once you go to other areas, you need to include the people in your vision in order to receive the cooperation of the people. You see? And the Romans did visit Ireland, and they did found military fortresses and colonies in Ireland, but very few of it are left. You can find more Roman remains in England than you can find in Ireland. But anyway, the Romans did visit Ireland. You see? And that's what I want you guys to think about. A colony was basically an establishment far off where your own vision is exercised, and you make that vision attractive by providing solutions for people. You see? And watch this. In order for Rome to establish colonies, often Rome itself caused the problems, and they came with a solution. Today we call it the Hegelian dialect. You cause a problem, people don't know that you're the one causing the problem, and because there's a problem now, people want solutions, and now you come with a solution because you caused the problem, so you know how to. So you also understand how people will react, and now you come with a solution, but solution you planned all along. Now the people don't know that you caused the problem. You only see that you have a solution. And now because they want to get rid of the problem, they agree with your solution and they give trust to you. You receive influence and power over them. And because of your problem and solution mechanism, now you've got the people where you wanted them. You see? So what Rome would do is they would send out soldiers. For example, they would send out soldiers in France, the area of France, or in Germany, and they would raid villages and farming communities near rivers, stealing the harvest, kidnapping people from time to time, and then at the same time, you would have those Romans that would visit that city. That would visit those areas, and the Romans would build certain fortresses over there where there's enough water because of aqueducts, and there's entertainment, and it appears secure. So then the Germanic people and the Gallic people of Gaul, which is modern day France, they would see, oh, hold on a minute, those Roman cities, they're quite safe. So why don't we have more of those Roman cities? So then the people would have a demand for the Roman structure. And then the Romans, after they realized that, okay, the people are appealing for Roman citizenship and Roman structures, they would send out many slaves and architects and builders, and they will found a lot of colonies. And the Germanic and Gallic people, the Celtic people I mean, they didn't realize that, hold on a minute, those bandits that were robbing villages and robbing the harvests of farmers, it's the Romans themselves that did it. And now we have all these cities built, and most of us live in those cities, and now we are dependent upon that city in Italy. You see? But this happened so fast that the people didn't realize that, hold on a minute, we became trapped. You see? I decided to talk about Roman colonies is to open you people's eyes. You see, because the same method Rome used to expand their empire, the same method governments and criminal organizations are using today. Causing a problem and always blame the problem on someone else, and then they come with a solution right on time. People, because of their desperate need for a solution, they accept the solution, and by accepting the solution, they're also accepting the plan that the abusers had in the first place. This has happened over and over again in human history. You see? And I'm going to give another few examples of antiquity, because the world has gone through changes, but the pagan strategies of problem and solution to get people in, to get power of people, it applies to all times, because pagans have been doing that throughout history. Let's look, for example, at the country Valentia. When the Romans conquered Britain, they tried to conquer Scotland, but it didn't work out, so they backed back. You see? So there was a time that there was an emperor named Hadrian that decided to visit Britain and to establish a military wall. You see? The wall was meant, they said, to defend robbers from raiding cities in Britain. Okay? Now, if you were alive during that time, and you were living, for example, in Wales, and indeed there were raids happening, then you would say, okay, I can understand it, but hold on. Rome had built colonies and municipalities in Britain a long time ago, so how is it possible that there are raids if people are living within city walls? You see? So the whole thing of making that military wall, it didn't make any sense. Anyway, they did build the wall, and only about 20 years later, there was another emperor, Antonin, and Emperor Antonin decided to build another wall further into Scotland. So now you had two military walls, and between those walls you had a big country basically that was not of the Roman Empire, but it wasn't part of Caledonia, ancient Scotland also. So it became a buffer state called Valentia. Now ask yourself, people, why would Rome want to establish a buffer state? See, why even build a military wall? First of all, the Caledonians, they had their own farms. Just look at Scotland. Scotland is a fertile place. You have farmers, there is soil for farming, there are rivers for fresh water, there are even freshwater sources within the Scottish Highlands. You have many lakes, hundreds of lakes over there. So, and fishery, yet sufficient fish. So, you had hunting in the woods where people would hunt on animals. You had fishery where the Caledonians would fish and eat fish. That was also an industry, trading in fish and in animals. And you also had, rural developments. You had a lot of farmers. And the Caledonians also had their own cities. So, when you think about it, there was no real need for Caledonians to attack Roman Britain. You see, the whole idea didn't make any sense. See, the Romans built those two walls within 20 years to give an impression as if there is a danger. Why? Because the people in Britain believed that there was a danger. Because they thought, well, if there was some danger, they wouldn't have built those walls. Because the people believed that there was a danger and cooperated with those walls, that's why the Roman Empire remained intact. Because think about it. To travel from London to Rome today, you go with airplane, it will take about 3 hours. During that time, you had to go with, the fastest way was with chariots, because if you had to walk and swim the distance, it would take about half year. If you would go with fast horses to the coast of France, it would take around 20 days. And then you had to take a ship or to a harbor in Roman Britain. That would take about a day, and then you had to travel to London itself. That would take about 3 days or 2 days. So basically, it took about 25 days to go from Rome to London. So the Britons had to have their own farms, their own fisheries, they had to have their own stuff. So if they were dependent upon themselves over there, why did they need administration of Rome that was all like 25 days travel to the south? See, when people begin to notice such things, their eyes are going to open, and the whole administration begins to fall apart. But because Rome invented a problem that didn't exist, and it came with a solution for a problem that didn't exist either, the solution wasn't needed. Because of that, the people were distracted from reality. So Roman colonies were built to distract people from reality. And the same thing is happening today, folks, with television, with those soap operas, also with the news often. Let me see. There are news channels that reveal true facts, okay? Yes, I know the media is lying. I know the media is manipulative, but there are media that show true facts. I'm not saying they're telling the truth, but they're showing true facts. But let me tell you, most media corporations, they are like Roman colonies. They provide you with information that's real, but they tell it from a point of view, or they show it from a viewpoint that will suggest a reality to you that isn't true. And you're not aware of that, so when you watch the news, you would automatically assume that what they're telling is the truth. You see true facts, but you don't see the truth. And that's also another way that the corporate media is trying to distract you from reality. You see? So, and also the school system itself. You have to sweat and work hard to earn a degree, to graduate. Okay, and after you graduate, now you have to apply for jobs and to get a job, then get a job. The fastest way is to join a fraternity or a sorority, and things will be done for you. But all of those things, the whole education system is also like a Roman colony. You see? It is designed to keep you away from what's really going on. It's designed to keep you away from realizing reality of what's really going on. So, my question to you is, are you living in a Roman colony? Or are you living in reality? Well, that's a question you have to answer yourself. Well, that being said to you all, be blessed, and may the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ be with you.